There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
There's always tomorrow. One round with George. It's been a little bit. Feels good to be back talking some boxing. Hopefully we get some people in here. If not, this is therapy. I get to talk about boxing. It's Friday, June 28th. We got a big weekend of fights. Well, really one fight in particular. You got Bam Rodriguez and Juan Francisco Estrada. Super flyweights, 115 pounds, the little giants. They're battling tomorrow night on DAZN. And you have Teofimo Lopez, one of the best fighters in the world, in a stay busy fight against a Canadian named Steve Claggett. Steve Claggett has got a lot of losses, and he should not win this fight. This is a stay busy fight for Teofimo. Was going to ask a question, what fight are you guys watching? But it's pretty obvious. I'm going to watch them both, but we got some people. James S. Yo. Paul Masters. Salute. Hey, make sure you guys like and subscribe. It'll make me feel good. It'll make Oscar feel good because Oscar's always over my shoulder. Exactly. Finally, somebody with some common sense. Yes. Oh, James, you're going to be at the fight. Nice. In Phoenix. Man, I wish I was there. That's going to be a great fight. You know, I haven't been on the last few days, but I always see what's going on out there. And the shows that get the biggest numbers are, you put Ryan Garcia in your title, you're going to get people watching. I just don't care. I just don't care. I maybe I should do it as clickbait to get people to watch, but I saw the clips of Ryan talking with Bill Haney, and now there's this guy Scooter. Now it comes down to Ryan Garcia's talking about some guy named Scooter gave him some stuff, and for me, it all goes back to he doesn't have the right people in his camp to stop Scooter from giving him stuff the day before. Man, James, good for you, brother. Floor section. That's going to be a great fight. Estrada's 34. Bam is 24. Thing about Estrada, I'm rooting for Bam. I think Bam's going to win the fight, but you never know these veterans. The only thing that really makes me pause is that Estrada hasn't fought in a year and a half since that third fight with Chocolatito. And I'm sorry, inactivity or activity means something. And Bam looked great when he took Sonny Edwards apart in his last fight. So the inactivity, yeah, Victor, yes. And if people don't know, he's talking about Roy Jones Jr., whose son committed suicide last weekend. Very sad. I think he was 32 years old, and Roy released something on social media. So it's very sad. I don't know. I used to work with Roy when I was at HBO, but not really directly with him. I've been to his farm, his ranch in Pensacola. I was there a few years ago. Did not meet his son, but Roy has fighters that live on the property, and they look up to Roy. They revere him. So it's just very, very sad. So make sure prayers for Roy Jones. Paul Masters, not familiar with Bam or Estrada. You know something? You should get familiar because the lighter weights, they're super flyweights. Bam Rodriguez is 24. He's a rising star. I think he's got belts in 3 weight classes. He's got belts in 3 weight classes, and El Gallo, Juan Francisco Estrada, he's a champ at 115, super flyweights, 115 pounds. He had a trilogy with Chocolatito, one of the better fighters in that weight class, and he beat him twice. And you know what? Bam Rodriguez, he trained with, let's see if I can pull up. I saw a show that Matchroom did on the fight, which I really liked a lot. And Bam Rodriguez sparred with Chocolatito, and there's not a better guy to spar with getting ready for a fight. So these are 115-pound warriors, and Bam Rodriguez really is on the rise. And to spar with Chocolatito, a guy who's fought Estrada 3 times, and Chocolatito's just got a storied career. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. That's a great way to get ready for this fight. This is going to be the main event on DAZN. And if you don't know, look, do some research. I can promise you that those styles that they have, it makes for a great fight. Bam Rodriguez and El Gallo have beautiful styles. And I think as long as it goes, it's going to be a great fight. Bam is 24, Estrada's 34, but I don't know. You never know with these veterans. You never know with these veterans. But the thing with Estrada that bothers me, like I said, inactivity. Inactivity is not good. James S. seen that, couldn't even imagine what the man's going through right now. Talking about Roy Jones, it's just tragic. It really is. It really is. 32 years old, and you never know. That's why you just be there for your family, be there for your friends, be there. Tell them you love them, you care about them, and just be there because you never know. Oh, Paul, come on, man. Don't know, new. You got to watch. So you tell me you don't watch featherweight fights? Let me tell you something, Paul. I know you're not telling the truth. I know you're not telling the truth. Because if you are a boxing fan and know some of the history, I know you've seen Prince Nassim Hamed and Kevin Kelly. That's the featherweight version of Hagler Hearns. Now, come on, Paul. I know you're playing. What's up, Brucey? My man. And yeah, Bam is one of those special fighters, but he's got to win this fight. I think Bam's going to win, but these are the fights that if you truly want to be special, you got to win these fights. Oh, come on, Paul. Come on, man. Don't limit yourself. I'm telling you, if you have to, I don't know what time. I don't know if Teofimo Lopez, if his fight goes on the same time as Bam's. If you have to pick a fight to watch, pick Bam's, because Teofimo Lopez is fighting a guy with like 54 losses. So he's going to smoke this guy. It's a stay busy fight. I'm not hating him for a stay busy fight. H Money. Hey, H Money, man. I see your shows at night. You got like 12 people on there going to war. There's no way I'm going on your show. But I love your shows, man. They're fun. The Keggy, salute Georgie. Tio's on the VCR if they go head to head. Man, Bruce, you're old school talking about the VCR. I love it. Yeah, H Money. And go check out H Money's show. These guys just go at it, man. I mean, you can't be weak if you go on that show. Do you think Estrada's layoff is going to affect his performance? I think yes, I do. But you never know with the veterans. And he says he's been in the gym, he's been busy. Because if you use the layoff, it's just funny, man. So sometimes it seems to hurt, and sometimes it doesn't. And this is a bad example because he's one of the greatest fighters ever. But Sugar Ray Leonard didn't fight for like 3 years before he fought Hagler, and he beat Hagler. So, Paul Master George, I'm still a hardcore degenerate. No, you're not, Paul. You gotta watch guys under 135. You got to. Come on. You have to. You have to. You weren't watching Shakur when he was at featherweight and 130? Man, I know you're playing around. I know you're playing around, Paul. H Money. I'm not an internet gangster. I'm a boxing. Yeah, there's no gangsters here. Jay, banned by decision. Teo by KO. Look, Teofimo Lopez. By the way, they both made weight, and Steve Claggett, his nickname is the Dragon. All right. I mean, he made weight. That's something Ryan Garcia couldn't do at 140, right? He's never fought at 140. So salute to these guys doing what Ryan Garcia can't do, and that's make 140 pounds. So they both weighed in at the limit. I'm glad he's being busy, Teofimo Lopez, but man, there's just so many good fighters at 140. Even I wish he was fighting someone better. And Paul is spot on. Teo is an enigma. You would think he's going to look spectacular against Steve Claggett, who's 35, I think, or 34, 35 years old. You would think he would look spectacular, but Teo's like up and down. So he was down last fight, so he should be up this fight, especially against Steve Claggett. He has to look good against Steve Claggett. He's supposed to knock Steve Claggett out. So I'm picking Tio by knockout. Um, I'm picking Bam by decision, but this is no betting show. So, you bet at your own peril. Why isn't Bam versus Estrada getting more hype? It's one of the best matchups in boxing right now. One is because of the zone. I guess it's hard now. They had a Matchroom put out a a little show, like a 16-minute show on the fight, and it was good. It's just the stuff isn't getting done enough, and people don't know. And there's no. It's hard to hype up fighters at 115 pounds. Hopefully, Bam Rodriguez is going to get bigger and bigger, and not in weight, but bigger in stature. It should be getting more hype because I think it's a great fight. It's a sensational fight, but it's tough with these lower weights. And I am a firm believer that boxing should be doing more storytelling, should be doing more shows, more features, and let people know. I know it costs money, but where it was easy. When I was at HBO, we did a little show called 24/7, and it was pretty easy. You knew when it was going to be on, what time it was going to be on. It would premiere Saturdays or Sundays, 11 o'clock at night. So you knew when it was going to be on. It was on HBO. These shows like DAZN, it's on YouTube, but not everyone knows where to find it. It's a DAZN show, but Matchroom did the shoulder programming. It's called. I don't even know if DAZN did anything for it. So it's tough. But yeah, Kegi, it should be getting more hype because I think it's a great fight. It's a great, great fight. Levi Sullivan, what's up, Levi? Tio better not fight down to the level of his opponent again. If he does, this fight is gonna suck. No shot against the Canadian, but Claggett. Yeah, but Teofimo says he's gonna be more active, and I think a more active Tio is a better Tio. Locally, they are. Oh, you're talking about locally in Phoenix? That it's good. HBO always did good numbers with boxing. Yeah, man. I don't like to talk about that though. It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about HBO boxing. I'm just playing. We talk about HBO boxing. I loved HBO. I was there for 15 years. So, so these two fights again. I don't know what time. I don't know what time exactly. H Money. It's a cherry pick. It's okay. It's a stay busy fight, and there's nothing wrong with that. Although it's kind of bogus that this guy's even ranked. I think he's ranked number 10 by whatever organization, and I hate the organizations. Whatever organization Tio has the belt with, the guy Steve Claggett is ranked 10th. So come on, yes, the fight could have been. They could have found a better opponent, but as long as these guys stay active, and then his next fight, fight somebody at 140. George, who's your basketball GOAT? Well, the GOAT to me is Jordan, no doubt. It's Jordan. I'm a Knicks fan, and I go back to the Knicks with Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley and Starks and Mason. But those were the heartbreak kids. But I'm looking forward to the fights. I'm looking forward to the fights. Really, I don't even know who else is on the ESPN card, but I want to. Paul says I'm not even sure who was the best at 140. It's a good point. At 140, you got some. Let's see, you got some good fighters, man. I mean, Devin Haney, I believe, gave up. These are old. Obviously, that boxing scene doesn't update their rankings till the end of the month. I'm sorry, that organizations don't, not boxing scene. So Devin Haney's given up his belt. So I believe, he's no longer BC champ. Isaac Cruz has the main belt at BA, and this I hate about boxing. The junior champ is Ismael Barroso. Subriel Matias is no longer a champ. It's Liam Paro. And Teofimo Lopez is top dog at 140. So you figure Paro and Matias are going to be, H Money. That's my boy right there. Tito Mercado. I interviewed that dude when I was at Pro Box. Tito Mercado looks like he's the truth. He's young, and nobody's talking about him. Tito Mercado is not ranked right now by any of the boxing organizations. But you are, man, listen, uh Tito Mercado to me, and he's a he's a prospect right now. I think he's on the verge of being a contender, but I've seen him fight a few times, and that dude's got devastating power. Man, I like him a lot. I like him a lot. You know what, H Money? Um, and I'll be checking it out. The overtime fights. I need to start getting into those more. There was boxing on last night. Matter of fact, a fighter I used to advise, Vaughn Alexander, was in the main event and he lost. Um, but shout out to him. He's still doing his thing. But yeah, 140. Paul, you said you weren't even sure who was the best. I mean, Teofimo Lopez, you would think he's the best. I mean, Gary Antoine Russell just lost. So there's been a big shift at 140, especially if Haney is leaving. And Matias just lost, and Chris Algieri. I got to give a shout out to Chris, man. Chris, when I was at Pro Box, I was pushing Matias because I thought Matias was going to be a special fighter, and he kept saying he's basic. He's got no defense. You had to be great. You have to have defense. He was right, and the ring tells the truth. But 140, once Shakur moves up, and we'll see. Well, let's. I would like to see Shakur and Tank at 135, but 140, the division has changed quite a bit in the last few weeks. It really has. Boxing analyst, put Jordan in the ring. Better be if I want to see if he's really like that. Put Jordan in the ring. Talking about Michael Jordan, boxing analyst. I must have missed some. I must have missed something in the comments. Levi says, in all fairness to Claggett, at least he fought his way to a top 10 ranking, whereas Ryan got one for the Haney fight off his name alone. No doubt. And boxing is not fair. Boxing is not fair at all. Which brings me to this. You talk about not fair. Jake Paul vying for cruiserweight title after the Perry and Tyson fights. He thinks that he's ready to be a champion in 2025. And you know what? He'll probably get a shot, but this is something that I can't stand about boxing. There is no fairness, there's no justice, there's no truth. This is not a knock on Jake Paul. Jake Paul is 9-1 with 6 knockouts. Most of the people he's fought are not boxers. The only decent boxer he fought, put it like this, the best fighter he's fought, I'm not saying he's a good fighter, was Tommy Fury, and he lost. And he's fighting a bare knuckle guy next, and then Mike Tyson. Which, how is that a real fight when it's 2 minute rounds? I'll tell you how, because it's in Texas, and that's the wild, wild west. Boxing is the wild, wild west, but they do anything they want in Texas. So now, but boxing being what it is, they will, just like Ryan got a fight off his name alone. Jake Paul is a moneymaker, and they will get him a ranking and get him a win. And get him a title shot. And I don't even know the cruiserweights. I really don't. But he can't beat Badou Jack. He can't beat Gilberto Ramirez. He can't beat Opataya. He can't beat Chris Billiam-Smith. Those are the champs. I don't even know who Noel Mikalayan is. He can't beat him. He can't beat Brandon Glanton. He can't beat Makubu. Well, he might beat Makubu. He looked pretty terrible. He can't beat Joe Smith. So he can't beat these guys. And I really don't think the fight with Tyson happens. But Paul says at 140, Jake Carroll. Yeah, Jake Carroll. But yes, H Money, I agree 1,000% with that. The Kegi, which fight do you think Mike Tyson was at his peak? And what fight? That's pretty. My opinion, it's pretty easy. His peak. Most people say Michael Spinks because he destroyed him, but Pinklin Thomas was a kind of an underrated fight where he really took Pinklin Thomas apart. So right around any of those fights, he was at his peak, and probably Spinks just because it was Michael Spinks, who really wasn't a true heavyweight. Um, what fight when he started sliding apart? I think his very next fight, he got rid of Kevin Rooney and all the guys that he had in his corner, and he fought Frank Bruno in his next fight, and I think he started sliding in that fight. He just he wasn't elusive anymore. He was just like, I'm Mike Tyson. I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna knock you out. If I have to take a few, then I'm gonna knock you out. And I think that's where he started to slide. I don't think he was like finished at that point, but when he fought Bruno, it was a different Tyson. And uh, he I think he didn't slide physically, but he had different people around him and his mindset was different. So it always like Tyson had two careers before he fought Buster, before he fought Spinks. I think he was pretty good, man. Quail Cataro sleepers. Cataro, I don't know, man. I still, who really cares? But what I think about that? But Cataro, I have to see him fight more. I have to see him fight people besides Jake, um, besides Taylor. H Money, George Facts. I interviewed Tito too. That's how I found your channel because your interview with Tito. Yes, Tito is Tito is nice. George, yeah, there are. I don't watch them though. That's just my personal choice. I don't hate on them, but yeah, there's fights. There's fights on tonight. Would you ever manage boxers? No, I did. I wouldn't say manage, but Vaughn Alexander, who fought last night, I was his advisor. I would never do that again. It's just not. It's too. That part of the business is too dirty, man. Too dirty. Hey, Bruce. Yeah, man, you're stealing my thunder. Yeah, definitely. I talk about the history. I know you do too. Keggy, who wins between Tito Trinidad at 140 versus Bud at 147? Tito at 140. You know what? Can Bud take the left hook? If Bud can take the power at 147, I think Bud is the more complete fighter, and Bud wins. And no shade to Tito, but if his plan A didn't work, he didn't really have a plan B. If he couldn't get you with that power and get you with that left hook, it turned out that he's like everyone. He could be beat. He didn't have another plan. Winky Wright did it, and Bernard Hopkins did it. Um, Oscar De La Hoya was doing it. You gotta watch that fight again. Oscar De La Hoya had points in that fight against Trinidad, and I was rooting for Trinidad. He had points where he looked sensational, and then he stopped fighting at the end of the fight. So Tito could be outboxed. Bud, Tito was a big welterweight though. Bud didn't have a whole bunch of fights at 147. But look, he beat everyone that he was in there with. So that's a great fight. That's a great fight. And yes, Algieri is I'm telling I was one of those guys in his ear all the time talking about Subrio. And he would say complimentary things about Subrio on camera, but behind the scenes, he would say, this guy's got no defense. If you look at the pound for pound list, all those guys have defense. Going back to even Mike Tyson when he was in the pound for pound list because he was elusive. Mike Tyson didn't usually get hit a lot. And he said Subra Matias is basic and he gets hit. And he was right. Paul Masters, George, you've been watching Pro Box as of late. Paulie is being real disgusting. He said he doesn't want Tank's tip. He wants the whole thing. Yeah. That those are my guys, Paulie and Chris and Sean and Tim and Teddy. But no, I don't. I haven't watched them in months. I really haven't. But Paulie says Paulie just talks. Jake gets destroyed if he really fights real boxers. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that he hasn't. The only quote unquote boxer he fought was Tommy Fury, and he lost that fight. So, but he'll get a title shot because this is boxing, and boxing makes up its own rules, just like He's fighting Mike Tyson in a legit fight with 2-minute rounds. Tyson the first guy to drop Pinky. Yeah, he took Pinky apart. And that Pinkland Thomas, obviously, I think he had drug issues, but Tyson looked sensational in that fight. And Pinkland actually looked, he had some decent rounds. He gave him trouble with the jab, but Tyson could figure you out back then. I think one of Tyson's most brutal fights was the Terrell Biggs fight. And he took Biggs apart. He even said he carried him and just whew, took him apart. Paul Masters. Tyson Cotto, and Cotto doesn't have A-level victory on their records. Overrated legends. But I think they're legends, but it depends. Some people overrate them. I think Tyson was a great fighter. He didn't. You listen to Teddy Atlas, and he lost all his biggest fights, and he probably did. So it depends on who's. I think sometimes Tyson is underrated by some people. Some people, like the casuals, they don't know. But Cotto's a Hall of Famer. Tyson's a Hall of Famer. So it's for the fans can argue how high up they are. Oscar doesn't have an A-level one either. Overrated legend, but it's who's doing the rating here. Oscar fought everybody. Now I agree. Oscar lost almost all his big fights. Fernando Vargas is one of the bigger fights, and that wasn't close to his biggest. But Fernando Vargas, I thought Oscar beat Shane the second time. He gave Floyd a good fight, but there's no doubt he doesn't have the big elite win. But I don't know if he's overrated because no one's saying Oscar De La Hoya is one of the greatest fighters to ever live. I think Oscar De La Hoya, I give him credit that he fought everybody. And he even fought guys he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have fought Bernard Hopkins. He just didn't want to. He couldn't make weight anymore. That was laziness. Do you think Regis can beat Catterall at this point? The way Regis looked against Haney, he looked terrible. I mean, he looked terrible. So I don't know. I think he could. I don't know if he will. Paul Masters, being a boxing advisor is dirty. Elaborate, please. It's just maybe dirty is the wrong word. The business of boxing. It's just I don't like it. I don't like it. There's a lack of loyalty in boxing on the business side. I just don't like it, and I'd rather be talking about fighters than being on that business side. Not at all. All right. Well, I guess people are beefing. Yeah. Alonzo, amazing man. You might have joined late, but that's the fight. Like that's the fight. And somebody was saying that it's not getting a lot of hype. Well, with boxing fans, it is. It's not getting the hype. It's not plastered all over, on the boxing websites. It is, but it's hard. These guys are 115 pounders. But if you know boxing, like I'm pumped. Boxing fans are pumped. This does not get the casual fans in. Bam Rodriguez does not get the casual fans in. He's not a big enough name yet. But ooh, man, I can't wait for that fight. I really can't. I mean, Bam is the favorite. He's been active. He's younger. Estrada's the veteran, and you never know with these veterans. I just don't like the fact that he hasn't fought in a year and a half. That's the only thing that bothers me. But ooh, man, you're right, Alonzo. Amazing, and make sure you subscribe, subscribe. That should be a fight for like not just hardcore fight. Like people should know. It's a great fight. It's a great fight. And Estrada's the. I'm sorry. Estrada's the champ. Estrada's a champ. I can't wait. I can't wait to see that fight. Yeah, Bud's got all knockouts. I mean, besides Errol Spence, I mean, he didn't, the guys he fought at 147 because he was frozen out. So he didn't get the big fights. Paul, you think Catterall schools Regis? I can't argue with that. Oscar overrated. Well, James, I guess some people say like this is up to everyone's that they got their personal opinions. I thought Oscar's a Hall of Famer. Oscar had some great moments in the ring. But some people think Sugar Ray Robinson was overrated or And yeah, Regis looked terrible. He looked terrible. Terrible in that fight. Terrible in that fight. But man, let me drop the link in too. But today, my man Bruce reminded me that today is June 28th. And I guess you don't have to be a hardcore fan, but 1997, I believe, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson had that rematch.
Cool. He says to his hand, Mike Tyson predicting a sensational victory before the first fight is almost palpable. Here we go, fight 2, round 1. A straight right by Mike Tyson, shrugged off by Evander Holyfield.
He's going to be bobbing and weaving. He's going to be jamming. But certainly, start out Mike Tyson.
I think you can sense some respect here too by both fighters.
And so, a wild swing and a miss with an overhand right by.
This guy get
Mike's looking to keep his leverage low. Come up banging.
Bill's Lane jumping in there.
See, that was a Tyson that had no head movement. And Holyfield wasn't afraid of him like Frank Bruno was. Let me get to the real highlights here. Tyson was cut. There it is. First bite. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing when this happened. You know, because I saw this fight live. I was in my 20s. This was a big deal. I had a house full of people. Yeah, Kagi, Holyfield was headbutting, no doubt. But you know something? Champions rise above, man. Champions rise above. And Tyson didn't. So they let the fight go on after the first one, after the first bite. And then he did it again. Bit him twice in a fight. Oof. Damn. He's a guy that didn't want to fight anymore, and he took that way out. Well, that was I mean a terrible night for boxing. It really was. And I remember like it was yesterday. Yeah. Bill Clinton even talked about this fight, and it was really disgusting. And I remember I had a house full of people, and I was rooting for Tyson, but he proved that he couldn't beat Evander. He got beat up in that first fight, and I remember I was disgusted. And when the fight was over, I was going through the channels, and on ESPN Classic, which I don't even think they have anymore. ESPN Classic was showing a replay of Ali Foreman. And I remember we all watched it. We were like, you know what? We're gonna watch real fighters and fighters that don't take this way out. And because that fight cost a lot of money, man. You know, and I wasn't making much money. I think I was a track coach back then. I wasn't making much money. So we watched Ali and Foreman in their fight that night. So, but yeah, time flies. And yeah, Kay, there's no doubt he was. I agree. He was 100% headbutting. That's what he did. But like champions rise above that, man. You gotta. You have to be great. or to be a champion, you have to overcome. Isn't it all about overcoming adversity? Tim Bradley just said, I want to see Tank Davis get knocked down because I want to see how he reacts. But I see his point. It's about adversity. You overcome adversity. If Tyson had his shot when he fought Buster Douglas, he's getting his ass kicked. And then he dropped Buster in that 8th round. If he'd have come back to win that, a lot of people would have said, oh, it showed how you could beat him. But it would have showed that Tyson, when he's down, you can come back and win. When guys get dropped, unless a guy's getting dropped all the time, I don't look at it as a negative, especially young fighters, especially if they get up and dominate. I don't think there's a negative. Like the Monster got dropped in his last fight. There wasn't a negative. That's the only second of the fight he lost. And he came back. Now with Tank, I think when Tank fought Pitbull and his hand was hurt, he showed that he could overcome adversity because he had the box. So, yeah, he was headbutting, but got to overcome that. If you back Tyson up, he's useless. Yeah. Evander was underrated. He had a long career. Keggy, how'd you go from track coach to HBO boxing? Man, why I boxed as a kid? This is not about me, but I boxed as a kid. Wanted to be a fighter, and I did it when I was a kid in Jersey, but they didn't. They had a boxing program at the Y, but the guy left, and I started to run track when I was in high school, ran in college, but I was about boxing. So in college, I was a communications major, radio, television, film. And when I got out, but it took a good long while after I got out because I got into coaching because when I was a few months after I graduated college, I had a 20-year-old brother who was killed, and it kind of changed what I did. So I ended up going back to my old high school. I was training as a runner, and I became a coach, but still was crazy about boxing. And eventually my first job in TV was HBO. And I was with them 15 years, and I'm still in the game now. Tim Bradley was underrated. I'm forever a Tim Bradley fan. That's my man. That's my friend. Tim is a friend of mine. And yeah, I got to the first ever 24/7 that I did was with Tim Bradley. But look, I got to put a pick up here. So in this picture, it's me and a fighter that not a lot of people know today. You have to be as historian because he fought in the 90s. It's Troy Dorsey. He's a former featherweight champion. Very briefly was a featherweight champ. I was just at his gym. He fought Kevin Kelly. It was Kevin Kelly is a former featherweight champ. 32 years ago they fought, and I'm doing a doc on their fight. I was just at Troy Dorsey's gym. Troy Dorsey is, I believe, the first kickboxer to win a title who came into boxing. He was the first kickboxing champion who came into boxing and became a champion. So shout out to Troy Dorsey. If you don't know who Troy Dorsey is, look him up. Look up his fight with Kevin Kelly. It was a sensational fight. A lot of people think that Troy Dorsey got robbed. But Troy Dorsey was one of those just exciting, come forward, test your will, test your heart fighters. Didn't have a great record, but he was a heck of a fighter. And I was just with him early in this week. That's why I haven't done any lives, because I was with him in Texas for a few days, shooting some footage with him. So shout out to my guy, Troy Dorsey, who is a good dude, like a real good dude. Troy's my dude. So George, who wins Prime Floyd versus Prime Bradley at 147. Tim's my guy, but hard to beat Floyd. Hard to beat Floyd. Really, really hard to beat Floyd. What was your favorite 24/7 dude? That's easy. The very first one I did, because I did 3, I think. I worked on the first one as a producer that I got to produce. That's my favorite, because it was the first Pacquiao Bradley fight, and I was on the Bradley side. I was the producer, so it was 4 weeks, 4 episodes. I was on the Bradley side. Another producer was on the Pacquiao side. So I got to meet Tim and his family, and it was a really good show. It's probably still somewhere on YouTube, but the most fun were the first two 24/7s. De La Hoya Mayweather and Mayweather Haddon were the I mean, those were sensational shows. Man, I didn't even get a link in. Shoot, I'm about to end this because I keep these under an hour. I try to keep these under an hour, but you got to be consistent. And I appreciate everyone who came in here. I know the thumbnail wasn't Ryan Garcia. It wasn't Ryan Garcia and Scooter. So it's hard to get a lot of people to come in when it's not a salacious topic. But we're just talking boxing. Just talking boxing. Let me. I'm gonna make this under an hour, so let me get a link in just for a few minutes if anybody wants to talk about the fights this weekend or anything else. So there's a link right there. But me, it's the casuals that don't know how big of a fight. And it's okay. Boxing doesn't do a good enough job promoting its fighters or its fights. And the Bam El Gallo fight I think it's going to be a great fight. And I want Bam to win. I'm rooting for Bam to win, but Estrada's a great fighter who hasn't fought in a year and a half. And that third fight with Chocolatito, it wasn't an easy fight for him. And Chocolatito is coming down to the end of his career. You don't have to have a set time for B to tune in like the other channels. You randomly come on. Yeah. How would you have marketed Bam Estrada? It's not easy because I think that they should do more stories on these fighters. Like they had something Matchroom had something out on YouTube, but I don't know how many people watch these things. Just get the stories out on social media, stories about the fight, stories about the fighters. Just have these guys more well known. It's hard to get people getting content out is easy because I've got a show. Everybody's got a boxing show. It's easy to get the content out. It's not easy to get people to watch. Now, Top Rank has like 2 million subscribers, so they have a good amount of people that watch their stuff. But I just Matchroom, they don't have as many. I just wish that more content was out there. Paul, I think if you had a set time, it would be embedded. Oh, I see what you're saying. That I randomly come on. Yeah, well, you know what? And I did that too today because I'm busy tomorrow. I'll be honest, Paul. I don't know because I try to do it when other people aren't doing it, but people are doing this all day and all night. So I don't know what the analytics say. Like a good time to come on. I was doing it pretty regularly at 7, and I'll probably keep doing it at 7. I'll probably keep doing it. So, oh man, all right. Let me get my dude here.
Hey, how you doing, George?
What's going on, Levi? How you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
You excited for the fights this weekend?
Very much so. Even the Teo Claggett fight, it should be somewhat interesting.
But the real fight, and I agree, it should be interesting because it's Teofimo Lopez. But that Bam Estrada fight, woo!
Oof. Yeah, no, I truly believe Bam is a generational talent. I've been watching him. Like the first time I heard about him, I thought he was going to be on the Canelo Triple G3 undercard. So, and I always like it when they have championship fights under like the big name fight.
Yeah.
So I went back. I watched some of his fights. I watched the Quadras fight, the Sarang Prasad fight. I thought this dude is good, and he's so young. And I forgot the name of the guy he fought on that Canelo card. Tough fight, but he was good. But he went out good, and then he did those 2 fights last year at 112, and he absolutely dominated Sonny Edwards. Like
he did.
Like, a lot of people kept saying before that fight, Like Bam's not gonna stop him. Like he'll go to a decision. Like I'm thinking, like all right, Sonny, great, good fighter, but not a lot of power, and he tends to become stationary in the middle of the fight, and he becomes very hittable. And so,
Yeah,
what do you?
I agree.
Yeah, but
But Bam, like this is the fight.
this is the fight.
Estrada's tough, man. I mean, I know he's 34, but he's a damn good fighter. The only thing that bothers me with him is the inactivity. It's been a year and a half since the third Chocolatito fight. So I just think inactivity is just not good for fighters. But this is a fight that, I mean, this could be, you don't know till it happens, but it could be the toughest fight of Bam's career. And if Bam is as good as we all think he is, then he's going to do something special on Saturday.
Yeah, and there's something I kind of expected to go to a decision, but I'm not ruling out a stoppage entirely. Like not even like drop him and make and count to 10. There are a lot of other ways to get a stoppage. Like you could swell his eye open, cut him up. But I
Yeah.
tough fight, but I expect him to win pretty easily.
Kegi says Estrada's a beast, so I would be picking him if it wasn't for the 18-month layoff. That 18 months is a long time, especially when you're 34. I mean, all fighters say, every fighter says, not us, the fighters, they say, yeah, I was always better when I was active. I was better when I was active. And Estrada's not active right now.
No, I don't get how he's been this inactive. Like, I remember, what was the last time he fought? December 2022?
Yep.
I remember that day. I think that was the same day Fury Chisora 3. So you can see what was
you're good, because I sure don't remember that fight. You're good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the better fight that night because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. But I'm excited. And Teofimo, you know, I don't mind the stay busy fights. You know, because Steve Claggett, he's ranked number 10, so he's just in there to get the title shot. He says he's going to be active, Teofimo, and he's up and down. So it seems like he's up and down every other fight. So he was down his last fight. So you would think he's going to look sensational. If he doesn't, you know, everybody's going to pile on him. But let's see Teofimo, because Teofimo, if he doesn't win this fight, then you know what everybody's talking about next week. The overrated Teofimo Lopez. But if he wins, let's see him fight one of the names at 140. But 140's changed. It's changed a lot in the last few weeks.
I mean, yeah, like, what was it? Last year, there was a whole surge of activity. Like, first Teo beats Josh Taylor, and then Haney beats Regis. And then, was Matias become a champion last year, or was it 2022?
It might have been, I think it was last year. I'm not sure, but I mean, just the amount of change in the last few weeks. Devin Haney gave up his belt. He said he's moving up. Well, I don't know if he's moving up. He gave up his belt.
Oh, he'll probably move up. Like if he's planning to take a year off of the sport, he's going to be moving up because no way he can make 140 after a year-long layoff.
And Subriel Matias lost his fight. Gary Antoine Russell lost the fight. So a lot of changes at 140. So Paul, so you got some people on here. Paul Masters says, George, ask Levi who wins in AJ versus Dubois.
You know, it's a tough fight because Dubois seems to have gotten better and he's a lot more sure of himself. But I still got AJ, probably late round stoppage or a decision, probably a decision.
Yeah, I think AJ wins, and I guess Dubois now has been elevated. He's the champion, which this interim.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. That fight should have been for like the vacant title. I don't know why they just gave him that.
Well, I know why, because the boxing organizations they can have an interim champion and they can charge sanctioning fees to the interim champions so they can get more money. Even though when you're an interim champion, you're not a champion. You're not in the books as a champion, but the greedy organizations can get money. So now when they had the interim champion, so when the champion, steps out of the division, they just hand the belt or email the belt, whatever they do, UPS the belt over to. I don't like it either. They should be fighting for a vacant title, but I think AJ stops Dubois, and Dubois has gotten better. He has, I think, but I think AJ is gonna knock him out.
Yeah, because look, I watched Dubois fight with Hrgovic, and Hrgovic lost, but he was landing some very clean right hands on Dubois. And
Oh man, he couldn't miss it every time he threw. You're right. I'm watching that fight, and I thought he was going to stop Dubois because every time he let the right hand go, he hit him.
Yeah,
every single time. Every time.
Yeah, I was watching the fight, and I saw somewhere in the comment section that DAZN has that Dubois looks like Anthony Joshua if you ordered him on Temu.
So the Kegi disagrees, but he hates AJ, so he's biased. So at least you look. I get it because I'm biased too.
At least he's honest.
So yeah, at least he's honest. But I think AJ beats Dubois. But I'll give him credit. Dubois came back from that Usyk fight, and he's won his last 2 fights, and nobody picked him to beat Hrgovic. But it's funny, Hrgovic hadn't really fought anyone since he fought Big Bang Zhang. So,
and I thought Zhang beat him that night.
A lot of people did. So, I'll give Dubois credit for not falling apart because Hrgovic was nailing him with right hands, like you said. Every time he threw it, he was nailing him. But hey, man, you know what? It impresses me when a fighter overcomes adversity, and Dubois did not against Usyk because people forget. A lot of boxers, and this is not me, a lot of boxers say he quit against Usyk. He went down and he just decided not to get back up. But I give him credit. He came back. He beat Big Baby Miller, and then he beat Hrgovic, and he was getting nailed against Hrgovic. And he came back, and he overcame adversity, and he won the fight. So,
I mean, he did use a few little roughhouse tactics. I saw a few headbutts that opened those cuts.
Trent Nonpareil. Madrimov beats Crawford.
Oh no.
Well, Trent, I'm definitely down to put a little friendly wager up. It doesn't have to be money, but we can do a friendly wager. I'll definitely take Crawford in that fight.
I'm taking him like, and Crawford has probably seen a lot of guys like Madrimov before. Madrimov has never seen anything like Crawford before.
Yeah. I think Trent is unless the odds might be crazy and look, if the odds are insane, you put a couple of bucks on Madrimov to win a decent amount. I get it, but he's not beating Crawford. He's not beating him. And Bud is 37. I believe he's 37 or 38. I think he's going to turn 38 soon. He's up there, man. He's up there.
That dude found the fountain of youth. Like, he's this old and he's still fighting this effectively.
Yeah, so I give him credit. Listen, man, Levi, I'm about to get out of here because I like to keep these under an hour. But dude, when I'm on and I put that link in, I don't know what happened last time I did a show because you were on and I lost you a couple of times. So I don't know.
I don't know. I think I had some Wi-Fi problems. I don't know what happened there.
But whenever I'm on, brother, just pop in, man, and we can talk boxing. And I think tomorrow night I'll probably go live after the look, the Kegi says, good show as always. Levi, a good co-host. So I'm gonna go live tomorrow night after the BAM fight. So if you're around, if you're not doing anything, just jump in, man.
Thank you, George. Always a pleasure. All
right, Levi. Talk soon, brother.
Bye.
All right. Whoops. My man Levi. I like Levi. Levi's you could tell he knows his stuff. He probably knows who every champion. He strikes me as the kind of guy that he can tell you every single champion in boxing right now, all 4 belts, even down to minimum weight. And I'll tell you what, I can't do it. Trent Madrimov plus 400, only 25 years old, spars Bivol. Trent, like I said, man, we don't have to bet money. I mean, I got a lot of boxing memorabilia. You know, we can. I'm sure we can. I'm sure we can put something together. Yeah, Levi's a good dude. I like talking boxing. Trent, I'm gonna be wearing my. All right. Well, he's got a tall order to beat Bud, so I don't see it happening. But would it be the biggest upset? No. So I'm picking Bam. I'm picking him by decision. I'm picking Teofimo Lopez by knockout. I think he's gonna knock Claggett out. He's gonna knock him out. And this is easy for everybody that needs content. If Teofimo Lopez does not win Saturday night, you know what everybody's going to be talking about next week. So appreciate everybody who came in. All right. So you made me hit Bugatti if Crawford wins. All right. So all right. Man. All right, I'll tell you what. And I think this is a good one. I got hundreds of magazines. So I'll tell you what. You can find me on social media, G Jakovic, on Instagram. Shoot me a message. Follow me on Instagram. Shoot me a message, Trent. So there's a bet. You'll mail me a Buka t-shirt if Crawford wins. If Madrimov wins, I'm going to send you this November 1984 Boxing Illustrated with John the Beast Mugabe on the cover. All right. So shoot me a message. Again, I'm on Instagram, G Jakovic. So shoot me a message. The shirt only costs $8 because of exchange rate. That's okay. No, I like this. I like these friendly bets. But yeah, this could be yours. I still gotta send my boy somebody won a contest. I gotta send out a magazine. But so there you go. It's a bet. All right. All right, Trent. So it's a bet. No social media for me. I'm 34. Oh, all right. Well, all right. I guess it's gonna have to be the honor system. Follow me on YouTube, and all right. So you'll be on YouTube. All right, perfect. So it's a bet. It's that T-shirt, and if your guy wins, all you got to do is send me your address, and you'll have a November 1984 Boxing Illustrated, Beauty and the Beast, the inside story of John Mugabe, who I watched as a kid growing up. So that could be yours. Appreciate you, Trent. And I love talking boxing. This is what I don't like talking. Biden got destroyed last night in the debate with Trump. I've got nothing to say except that you would think that in this country we could have two better people running for president. That's all. That's all I'll say about that. I really stay out of politics. That's all I'll say about that. But Trent, keep listening, man. Make sure you subscribe. And we got a bet. We got a friendly bet. We don't bet money. These are friendly bets, but something's on the line. I get a T-shirt. See, all right. So Mugabe was a monster. Look, he was the beast. He was yeah. I mean, at one point he had knocked out everybody he fought, and this was when he was probably in his prime. Obviously before the Hagler fight. I'm gonna have to take a look through these magazines. These magazines were gold back in the day. Gold. So we got to bet. And if you haven't subscribed to One Round with George, shame on you. But if you do, you want to win something special, I'm going to say peace. I'm going to say like and subscribe. Go to Instagram, G Jakovic on Instagram. I'm also on X. But if you have not subscribed, you should.
Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.